Hey guys, how's it going? I'm One Pling Pizza, and today we're gonna be doing just kind of like a beginner Dead by Daylight tutorial. It's just gonna tell you some stuff that you should know if you're new to Dead by Daylight or interested in playing it and haven't played it much. Just helpful little tips. So, this is quite a simple question, but I figured I should probably explain this since it is a Dead by Daylight beginner video. What exactly is Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight, or DBD, is a 4v1 asymmetrical multiplayer horror game. In it, 4 survivors try to escape by repairing 5 gens or generators, occasionally hitting skill checks while doing so. After that, the survivors must ready the exit gates, and during all of this, there's a killer roaming the map, normally patrolling the gens and chasing down the survivors. The killer must hit a survivor twice in order to down them. Upon doing so, the killer can, and they don't have to, which I'll talk about in a minute, hook the survivor. Now, survivors on a hook have a certain amount of time before they hit the next stage. Stage 1, it will allow you to attempt to escape, which has 4% odds, and you can attempt 3 escapes. And after around 40 to 60 seconds, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have the exact number written down, but it's in that range. I believe closer to 40. And then stage 2, you will have to randomly hit skill checks, and if you miss one, it will regress your timer even more, bringing you just a bit closer to death. And stage 3, you simply die. And the survivors must either be unhooked by another survivor, helped by a perk, or they must escape by taking chances of getting off the hook. So the killers must try to kill the survivors without them healing each other, and the survivors must try to evade the killer and repair a total of 5 gens. And what I said I would talk about in a minute is slugging. Now, a killer, if they feel like it, they don't have to hook survivors. What they can do is they can just down the survivors and just leave them on the ground, and they will eventually bleed out after 2 minutes. I could be wrong. 2 minutes, I think it is. Yeah, it's around 2 minutes. And so they will just bleed out, and if you manage to slug every survivor, there's nothing they can really do unless they have the help of a perk. So, it is there as an option. I prefer to hook, but in some situations, slugging is definitely the right choice. Like, for example, if you have 2 survivors downed, and you know where the 3rd or 4th survivor are, then that is a situation where you can totally feel free to just leave the survivors down on the ground and go after the survivors that you know where they are, and that will generate a lot of pressure on the team. And that's just what I have to say about what exactly Dead by Daylight is. So, to start off, the survivors that I would recommend that you start with is either Meg Thomas or Claudette Morel. Both of them have some pretty good perks. So, Meg's perks consist of Adrenaline. When the exit gates are powered, so all the gens are done, you instantly heal 1 health state and sprint at 150% your normal running speed for 5 seconds. So it's kind of like her other perk, Sprint Burst, but for 5 seconds, and you get healed, and it just triggers once. To continue with that, Sprint Burst, when you start to run, you break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for a maximum of 3 seconds. And these are exhaustion perks. After you use them, you are affected by a debuff or negative effect called exhaustion. or exhausted. When you're exhausted, you cannot use these, although adrenaline ignores the exhausted effect. You cannot use the exhaustion perks, and to recover your exhaustion, you must walk and not run. You don't have to stay still, you can walk, but you can't run. So, that makes it so you can't really recover your exhaustion and chase unless you're experienced enough. And her last perk is Quick and Quiet. So when you do a fast option, such as vaulting over a window or a pallet or jumping in or out of a locker, it will reduce the noise by 100%, so the killer will not hear it. And this effect can be triggered every 20, 25, or 30 seconds, depending on the level you have it. And the adrenaline perks are 40 seconds, 50 seconds, or 60 seconds, depending on how leveled up you have it. Claudette is one I would recommend. Just to starter players, she's not a good late game character, really, like when you're more experienced in the game. But her perk, Self-Care, can be really good at the start of the game. It allows you to heal yourself without a med kit, which is pretty amazing. And then if you do bring a med kit, it increases the efficiency of that med kit by 20%. Now, the 50% healing speed is pretty slow, so there is better ways that you could heal and much faster ways that you could heal, which is why it's not as good late game and when you're more experienced. But to start out, it's a pretty solid perk. She also has Empathy, which allows you to see any injured teammates sorry about that, throughout the entire map. So you can go heal them, you know where they are if the killer's chasing them. It's a decent perk. And her last perk is Botany Knowledge. So it increases your healing speed and healing item efficiency, like a medkit, by 33%. I forget how much the tier 1 and tier 2 of it are, but tier 3 is 33%. If you have Xbox, I would recommend Feng Min as another good starter character, because on Xbox you start out with Feng Min and the Doctor. She comes with Life, which is like sprint bursts, but it happens when you vault over a window, or fast vault over a window, I should say. There is Alert, which is a pretty underrated perk. Whenever the killer performs a break action, such as breaking a wall, breaking a pallet, destroying a gen, it'll reveal their aura to you for 5 seconds. You can see them from wherever in the map, essentially telling you what killer it is, where they are, and what they are doing. And it gives you a few seconds afterwards where you can see what direction they're heading. So overall, a pretty solid perk. And last, we have a perk that, again, is not very good when you're more experienced, but for new players, this can be a pretty solid perk. Technician allows you to, on a failed skill check, the generator explosion will be prevented, so the killer will not hear it and will not know that a gen has exploded. The gen will lose progress as usual, and it will lose an additional 3%, which is kind of the downfall of this perk. But if you're new, the 3% is totally worth it for the killer to not know where you are. And so those are the survivors that I would recommend for you starting out. Now, we're going to get into a match and just go over some stuff that you should know how to do in Dead by Daylight. Let's get right into it. And I forgot to mention a couple other good perks that are universal, which means that you can have them for any character, are Kindred, Renewal, or Second Wind, Inner Strength, or you know what, I'm gonna need to look at these actually. Inner Healing. So Inner Healing, not Inner Strength. They changed the names, and I'm still not quite used to it. Then Renewal, like I said, that one I know was Second Wind. And I can explain these perks if you guys would like me to go more in depth in them. I'm totally fine with that. But just right now, I'm just kind of giving a general kind of, I don't know, kind of tutorial for the game. I'm not sure. Self-Aware is another good perk. Spine Chill and Resilience paired together, they're extremely good. Later players, like more experienced players, will use it a lot. Situational Awareness is another good perk, and Will Make It is the final universal perk that I would recommend. So I'm running a few of the perks that I recommended. That was my sprint burst right there, and I will be recovering from my exhaustion slowly over time. I'm just in a custom match right now, so I am against a pinhead currently. So hit me. I'm just gonna show self-care. So as you can see, it takes quite a while, but if you have the time, healing yourself can save that. You can actually save some time with self-care. Now I will show off Alert. Oh, and my sprint burst again. See? Oh, kind of got stuck there, but I can see him through walls. I know wherever he's going. Again, pretty solid. And the last perk I brought was just because I didn't really know what else to show off. So I'm just gonna finish healing and then, oh, we're gonna need to solve the box. I will show you guys some of the tiles that Alright, so this is the main building. The main building is different on every map. So I'm just gonna really quickly go over this one because there's a ton of different maps. This is a big open main building. There's normally a window here, sometimes over on that side, but normally here. There can be a basement down there. And up here, there is quite a big area where there's either a door here, and if the door is here, the window is there. And if the window, if the door isn't here, then like the window is there. But it always makes it so that survivors can get through it. So we're gonna go over to Shack now. which is a tile that is in most maps. There's just a few exceptions. So my teammate just got down. What you'll have to do in game, obviously, is go over and heal your teammates occasionally. And in a normal game, you would have to complete 5 gens, but this one, you just have to do 3 because there's just the 2 of us. So come over to Shack. So this is Shack. There is a pallet here. It is called God Pallet because if I drop it on either side, oh, didn't mean to trigger the strippers. If I drop it on either side, this side, or if I'm on that side, the killer has nothing he can do about it. If I drop it, like, he has to break it. He can try and go around, but he's not going to be able to get me if he does. There's just too much time. It's just not gonna happen. You just have to break that pallet. And again, there's my alert going off. So, I'm not really gonna go over the tiles that are just in this map, as they are not very common. But this one, I will definitely go over. This is what we call an LT, because there's a T-shaped wall and an L-shaped wall. Oh wait, I forgot to mention something about Shack. Can you go do the cube? I'm just gonna go back to Shack. I forgot to mention something. So the ideal way to run Shack when you're looping killers is to run from the side that doesn't have the pallet, because the side that has the pallet is normally closer to the window, so it's a bit harder for you to get a fast vault. You gotta run like from an angle like that. You can't just go like that. But if you run in from this side, you can get a really nice wind-up angle where you can vault really fast. So that is the ideal way to run Shack. If you have to, you can run through that way. It's just better to run the other way. So sorry about that. That was just something I thought I should mention and forgot about. So this is an LT wall. There's no pallet here. It is just windows that the survivor vaults over. The killer can vault over them, but they rarely do. See, you gotta be careful for that, mind games like that. So what you want to do is you want to try and stick on the inside, really, so you can get nice vaults like that. I might not survive for long because I don't have dead hard or anything, but you get the idea from this. Then if he doubles back, then you just go like that. Now both windows are blocked off, so it's essentially useless. But if you try and wait, yeah, like it just unblocked there. If you try and buy a little bit of time, yeah, they will unblock. So This is another common tile. I'm just going to solve the cube really quick, and then I will talk about actually these two tiles. They're both very common. So this right here is a long wall. It's not the best thing to loop a killer on. As you can see, you don't get a lot of sight on them, like standing here. You don't really, like, if they come in from this way, they can easily surprise you if they hide their red light. Like that. Like, it's not the best loop, but you can always just get one, maybe two loops out of it, drop the pallet. Again, if you're a beginner, you can get, like, you can drop a pallet as soon as you need to. It's not like the hugest issue. The only pallet you don't really want to drop is shack pallet. That is a bad thing. It's just a really useful pallet, and unless you're on death hook or you really need it, it's a thing that is better to save. So this alright. Don't break the pallet. So this is a jungle gym. Jungle gyms normally consist of one window lined up like that, and then a pallet over on this side. So the pallet can sometimes actually be on this side. That is true. These can have a couple of different variations, but they always consist of one pallet, one window, and they're pretty solid. They're not the best, but they're definitely not the worst. Those are the worst right there. These are Z-walls. I don't even really need to talk about them. If you come here, don't down me, but just yeah, like, there's really nothing you can do there. It is definitely not a good tile. Okay, so I'm gonna do a gen to show you guys what that is like. It's not very exciting, but it's part of the game. So, while you're repairing a gen, you will occasionally get skill checks, which will pop up any moment, and you have to hit them in the correct spot. There is two different ways that you can successfully hit a skill check. You can either get a good skill check or a great skill check. A good skill check is that. It's the bigger bar, bigger area on the skill check. Like that. That would just continue the gen along, not really do much, but that little white bar will add a little bit of extra progress. If I can hit it, I will show you guys. A little bit rusty, I haven't played Dead by Daylight too much. Okay, well, it just adds an extra couple percent. So now that was the last gen. The executes are powered. So what you now do is you just must rely on those like bubbles that you saw that show the executes, and you gotta go up to them and hold it down. Lights will appear above. 1, and then 2, and then 3, of course. Obviously indicating how far along the door is. Most of the time, you'll want to 99 the door until you are sure that you and your teammates are safe from the killer. But if you are getting chased from the killer and you're injured, feel free to open up the door if you have to. And once you've opened up the door, you simply walk out this. So I actually wrote down some universal perks that I forgot about. Deja Vu allows you to see the 3 gens that are closest to each other for a little bit at the start of the match and every time a gen is completed, allowing you to not get yourself 3-gened, which would let the killer just quickly check between every gen and almost guarantee them a win. It can really be that bad. So Deja Vu can be a really useful perk. Dark Sense, every time a gen is completed, the killer's aura is revealed to you, and when the final gen is completed, it's revealed to you for 10 seconds. I think it's 5 seconds every time a gen is completed, and then 10 when the last gen is completed. But I could be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And then I just had one more. Hope is another pretty good universal perk. Pretty much when the exit gates are powered, so when the gens are completed, you are given a 7% haste, so you move 7% faster for, I believe it's 2 minutes. So that is pretty good. And that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more beginner and how-to Dead by Daylight stuff, feel free to comment and let me know, because I kind of had fun making this, and I feel that people might need some tips and tricks in Dead by Daylight, and just kind of really understand how the game works. And so I thought it would be good, and if you liked it, please let me know. I would really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a good night. Goodbye.